This episode of Super Pulp Fiction has been brought to you by... This episode of Super Pulp Science has been brought to you by the books of Susie Moloney, which you can find on Audible. Look for Bastion Falls, A Dry Spell, The Dwelling, The 13.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm Gregory Komichek. I have locked my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, in a small space with a small baby, and instead brought a new, temporary, one-day only co-host, Susie Moloney. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I love the exchange.
You love it?
I love it here. I haven't been down here in at least 2 weeks. And it always makes me feel energized.
It is good down here.
I'm going into the music right after this.
I was just going to ask, if you really want the step up, I have a plan to go to into the music this week to find a new soundtrack. I'm looking for Wrath of Khan on vinyl. So if you spot it, or dear listener, if you're really looking for a...
It's really tough to find.
I know. Yeah.
Yes, that is. Does it exist?
I'm sure it does. But...
On CD even?
Well, on CD it would.
What's CD?
But no, I want it. I have a very small collection of vinyl, and they're mostly horror movie and science fiction soundtracks, and so that is on my list.
Fun fact, actually, while we're talking about it, I learned today that the American Werewolf in London does not have an official soundtrack. It was never released as a soundtrack.
That is the voice of Dan Vadeboncoeur, producer extraordinaire.
I just thought
who didn't wait for his introduction before he dropped the knowledge. Actually, this is really good. Dear listener, Susie is a novelist and a screenwriter. Dan is a podcaster and a teacher and a screenwriter. And we're going to hold you to task a little bit today. Yes, we will.
There's a quiz at the end.
Uh-oh.
That's right. I've been doing some stuff for screen. But, Susie, why don't you tell us what the dear listener should know about you?
Okay,
what gives you the right?
I know.
Yeah.
No one knows. How dare I? Well, first of all, I'm a horror person. I think that probably goes without saying since I'm a guest on this show. Genre all the way. And so, yeah, my big thing lately has been screenwriting, film. But I've done a bunch of TV lately, too.
And before that, novels.
Novels was where I came from.
Right.
And currently...
Notice the tone shift.
Yes. I started in novels because that was back in the day when that was how you communicated your feelings. You wrote them down. And now, of course, it's different. You take a picture of your feelings.
Or a video.
Or video. Actually, a video is probably better.
Yeah. And
then you put them out there into the world and you hope people like you. But you don't get $1 a like you used to get for a hardcover. You just get $1 for every hardcover someone bought. So there was an investment on their end.
That's right.
And so the likes were, more directed.
I really appreciate the way that you have correlated a book sale with a tangible action of like, Absolutely. I like that person, I'm voting with my dollar. And we've talked... any longtime listener of the show has heard us break down how the publisher takes 90 and gives 10. So this is...
Well, it's really hard for them to come up with those ideas on how to exploit us. And so it takes them a lot of board meetings.
Right.
And, they all 6, 7 of them sit around in there and decide whose life to ruin. However, briefly. Because that's how it works.
Is it too soon? Is it too soon to bring up your revenge list?
Oh, no, never.
Never too soon.
I haven't added to it yet today.
No.
But I do indeed have a revenge list. I've been around a long time. I've met a lot of people.
Now, are the revenge elements related, like project specifically? You wrote a novel called The Dwelling. Did it create a list of revenge associated to it? Then you did, I'm not sure what came after The Dwelling, but... 13.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
Oh,
13.
That's
13. Is it projects that create these enemies in you, or is it
Nope.
just how you move through the world?
It's moving through the world.
Okay.
Because they're not all necessarily creatively based.
Right.
I have one going back to junior high.
Oh.
Yes.
Do you keep extensive files, threads connecting them on a giant wall?
You know what? It's all up here, Greg. All up here. Also, it's written down.
Right.
Lots of different places. Usually at the back of my notebook. So when I die, someone needs to go into my office, find all of my notebooks and tear out that back page and then create
like
a file and go continue my work. My revenge rule.
Super Pulp Science does not condone
I
the
am not.
collection of kill lists nor wanton murder on behalf of authors, jilted, justified, or otherwise.
It is justified. I'm just saying it'll make you feel good about yourself.
So,
Avenge me.
so anyone who has been around the Winnipeg writing scene has probably heard of you, either by reputation from your work or from your public appearances or from your willingness to speak truth directly to power as necessary. But really, most of your time, you're just in your own head and taking it out and putting it on paper.
Yep, it is
Right.
true. You know, as you, I guess, you know, you start to write all of the things that you wanted to write or that you set out to write. I used to have a theory that all novelists wanted to tell 3 stories: a monster story, a haunted house story, and an apocalyptic story. So in spite of the fact that what I have left is the apocalyptic story, I'm currently writing a monster story, another monster story. And
You covered Haunted House in the Dwelling.
I did. And actually, Dwelling is my favorite thing I've ever written, even considering short fiction. And I love a lot of my short fiction. What a form to work in, short, right? Because you have to narrow that lane and make sure that you're sticking to this middle. And I love it. But so the new book, so The Monster. I find myself, I guess, at my age, which I'm, in my 40s, fight me. I find myself reflecting a lot on my youth and things that are so universal for women to go through. And so I'm writing about those things right now. And so what I'm writing about is a young woman's odyssey into her own sexuality. Can I say that on podcast?
You can be as spicy as you'd like.
Ooh, good.
Yeah.
Well, my current dilemma is that, young women, and I hope there are some listening, young women are sexualized from about 11, 12 until I got hit on last week. So it doesn't actually ever stop.
Never ends, yeah.
But the bulk of it happens before it's appropriate. The bulk of it. I don't know. The hill starts to get climbed. And it's terrifying, because on one hand, here's this young blooming flower discovering how great her body feels. And then immediately society is telling her, don't do that.
Right.
In spite of the fact that every man in the vicinity, every boy is going, yeah, do that. And so it becomes this horrible, oppressive thing that doesn't belong to you anymore. So that's the current book that I'm writing, and the sexuality, in a sense, is manifested as a monster. It's a girl and her monster.
Right.
And he does not vibrate, and guess that was the next question.
Right, no.
No.
I was thinking more, I was going Jekyll and Hyde more than I was going what you hide in the bedside table.
That's, okay, yeah, that would actually work quite well for the monster. It starts off great.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes more and more intrusive and bad for her. But what's happening, as always happens at the beginning of a book, is I'm just so in love with this young girl. And it's a way of kind of embracing that young girl that I was, And one of the interesting things about me, I had a very questionable childhood. I won't say any more than that, but I didn't know what I could or couldn't do because really horribly neglected, left for feral, really. And so that was a really good thing because it meant that I assumed I could do whatever.
Right.
And so nothing stopped me creatively. No one ever said you can't write about that or you can't do that, you can't say that because nobody was listening.
I think all your troubles stem from your inability to see things as they really are.
I cannot help but point it to the idea that what people worry about if someone is left to go feral is not that they'll start writing novels and short stories. That's not really on the list of like, oh no, if I leave my kid unattended, they might develop a creative and fulfilling outlet.
I think that's what schools are terrified will happen.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
That is a little bit what it. So how did that happen for you?
I'm serious when I say no one told me no.
Right.
And so I just finished a short story. I'm writing a new collection of short fiction, actually. And it's called, tentatively, my husband hates this title, it's titled The Summer My Mom Died. And it's I know, so boring. Oh my gosh, somebody just punched me right in the face. But it's a coming of age, series of coming of age stories. Coming of age in my world.
I was going to say, so
is
this
full
is
of
not
monsters and
exactly
bad things.
Canadiana, because I'm sure a demon
There's
shows.
death.
Yeah, a demon.
Someone throws a potato at one point. It's my grandma, and that's a true story. So I'm writing this collection, and I completely lost my train of thought. But I will say,
Welcome to Super Pulp Science, where since we have no agenda except discussing creativity, it becomes my job to wrap it up for the dear listener what we talked about. So it's okay. You just
well, one of my stories, I remembered my train of thought. So one of my stories is called Paper Thief, and it was about being a little kid living with my grandma and grandpa, very, very poor, could never find paper to write on. And so I was, back of envelopes, margins in newspapers. And I'm not kidding. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. And so whatever I could get my hands on. And I got a gift at the end of the story. I got a box of paper that had fallen off a truck somewhere.
wow.
But one of the neighborhood people knew I was always looking for paper. And it was probably, here I am. I'm in my 40s. And I totally remember that moment.
Yeah.
Just the possibilities, looking at this
Just
box
whatever
of
you
paper.
could do with it. Yeah.
Box, and it was shiny and horrible, and the ink, it smeared, and I didn't care.
No.
It was also offsize.
You know,
but I
it's funny
could
you
still
say
staple
that.
it together.
I took from my, with permission, this sounds, I took a box of old paper that my father had in his garage, and he was like, oh, I think there's a bunch of old stuff. It's a little bit, it's not, you can't put it in a printer anymore. And it was a little bit off size. It's like from the 40s somewhere, this box of old paper that now I've been writing notes and doing stuff on it. And it has like a different gauge. There's a different fiber to it. You definitely could not put it in a modern printer to print something off on it. You would ruin it for sure. But there is something about a stack of paper that no longer has the purpose it was intended for, that now you can do whatever you want with. It's like the whole world to write. And I, it's funny you say that, because just yesterday I was taking out a sheet of that, and I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want on this. This is not what anyone dreamt should go here.
And it sounds like it's got that great glide when the pen hits it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that glide. I write a lot of notes in ink. Partially, I guess, because I always did. I started writing when I was a little kid.
Yeah, habits, right?
Yeah.
Habits.
And there's a story about my first typewriter in there, too, and breaking my grandpa's typewriter. But writing by hand is probably one of the most comforting things I can do for myself. If I've got a problem or I'm upset or a little blue or something, take out that notebook, man, and just write a few things down. Here's some of the stuff I want to write about. Here's a person I want to write about.
Add a name to
Here's
the
my-
revenge
Yes,
list.
I was just going to add a name to stuff. Just reading it feels good. Oh, they're so going
I
together. aren't
haven't
they?
forgotten you.
Ooh, and look at you, still there, I see.
Oh my gosh. But now you can add to your revenge list the power of a Google search to see where they are now. Update
Yes.
the address.
It's
things like that.
become much easier. So you know who you are.
Has writing become easier for you in that time?
No, writing never gets easy. It's the most horrible thing on earth to do.
The writing.
What said Dorothy Parker said? I hate writing. I love having written. Yes.
No, I think this is the moment we're going to put Dan on the spot.
Oh, okay.
Because Dan is also writing.
That's right.
And he likes having written. But I think he's feeling
Writing.
hates the writing.
Yeah.
And when we have said here in the loving seclusion of our secret base to Dan, it's okay, we all feel that way. He doesn't believe us. I know. He said, oh, you guys act so confident and you act like it comes easy to you or whatever. But when we're just alone to do the work, it sucks. Some days it sucks so bad because you only know what you want to accomplish and what you want to have accomplished, and you have to put
And it wasn't that.
right, yeah, and whatever came out is all you got. That's where
And
I'm
you
at.
can't reclaim whatever it was you were thinking in your head.
That's right.
It's gone once you write it down. And that's the same with, losing a save on the computer.
Yeah.
You cannot recreate it.
Yeah.
And it's the saddest profession.
But my moments of bliss happen like at the sentence. So like, oh, I can't do the sentence. Then I've written the sentence. Oh, and I did write a sentence. And as long as I don't read the sentence I just wrote,
Everything is good.
I can take a little piece of that confidence into the next sentence and build up some momentum into the paragraph. Once I have a couple of paragraphs, then I'm not looking back.
Yes, exactly.
But then starting, I'm not sure if it's universal. I know some
Of
people
course it
say,
is.
well, we want to believe that, I think, because of how we hurt.
Yeah. What I'll say is that I feel like I find myself reluctant to sit down and write. I don't want to do it. I'll make an excuse to do something else. I'll clean up the house instead of doing that. But when I do, it's awesome. I do actually, when I sit down and I'm writing and I'm just in the world and I'm just writing what I want, I'm having a great time. And then after it's over, I look back, I read my own work and I don't like it. So I do feel like that way.
Oh, you will one day. One day you'll be your absolute biggest fan.
Yeah, it is. I'm only just now, and I think this is an important point to make, is despite having a career writing stories for a living, I'm only just now at a point, 40 projects in, that I'll write something, I'll read it later, and I'll say, that actually does invoke the feeling I think I was trying to invoke. Like that's, I'll have forgotten that I composed it. It's long enough away, maybe a year or two after, and I'll reread a passage because you have to do a reading or you're doing a school visit. And I will surprise myself that is much more competent than I had given myself credit for at the time. And do you feel, Susie, that you're always being chased by the imposter feeling through your work?
Not as much as I used to.
Right.
And in fact, now I'm at the stage, because I went a very long time without writing long-form prose.
Okay.
I haven't written a book in a lot of years.
Right.
10,
You've been doing screenplay.
10, 11.
You've been writing
It's not like
plenty.
I've been, And so sitting down to write what I knew was going to be a novel was absolutely terrifying. And, it was also like putting your slippers on. It was finally, I was doing something I knew how to do.
It was comfortable.
And I knew how to do that. And so all of the rusty, grating, can't find the gear, squealing that went on, I knew it was really just getting going,
Did you choose the medium for the idea, or did the idea choose its own medium? Like when you say, "Oh, I knew it was a novel," right? If you're writing lots of stuff, or you're pitching for TV, or you're doing films, or you're doing whatever, the ideas are always around.
It started off because I've been exclusively writing in film, and I've written a lot of scripts. They're not all produced, but a number of them are in lineups on rosters to be produced, and so I have, developed this platform that I've been working in, and I'm comfortable in it mostly now, and I really like it. Like, I really like writing visually, but so this was a screen idea. But the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to be inside that girl's head. And so it became a book. So I would say it chose the platform. And sometimes something does. Sometimes you need a lot of geography, right? You got to drive from one end of the world to the other. And that requires, I think, a book.
Right.
Especially if it's an internal story, which, a young girl's sexuality is. That's an internal journey. And so, yeah, I think stuff picks its form.
This building is quite old. Been many things over the years. Bright Hill Road has a long and complicated history.
Was there a moment where you said, "I'm starting this novel"?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Well,
moment.
I write my own stuff anywhere between 7 and 10. Generally, it's 7:30 to 9. But that's when I do whatever the hell I want. And
So you keep a writing schedule,
I do.
and then in that writing schedule, you set aside time where there are no rules for what you're
It's
working.
just my stuff.
Right.
Because obviously, as a writer in Canada, I do a lot of consulting.
Yeah.
I do a lot of teaching. I do, you got to train your competitors, right? Why wouldn't you? And
Power grows when you share it.
okay, sure.
Right.
Sure. Keep telling yourself that. That's, you know what? I'm such a generous person. That is not fair.
No, I've been telling him that for years. This is what this podcast does. He's training his competition.
Yeah, we think you have to. You're better than us already, dear listeners. You just have to believe in yourself.
You're
so you
certainly
can
nicer.
You can take us down. That's right.
And so, that morning time is sacrosanct. And I just do, sometimes it's a short story that probably no one will ever see. I just wrote a cool story, and writers tend to do this. I wrote a story about a woman who works in publishing who discovers in the slush pile a fantastic book.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and then it keeps getting recommended to her, and she finally reads it. Anyway, nobody is interested in writing and publishing. That's eventually all writers write a publishing story where they are an editor.
Oh my God.
Getting their revenge.
Do you remember that hallowed time in, I guess it was the late 90s, where every movie starred a screenwriter in Hollywood?
Absolutely.
Right?
Adaptation.
And I'm not sure what happened, but it happened, and there was like a dozen, and then they all went away.
Aren't most of Stephen King's characters writers?
Often Stephen King writes writers, yeah.
Well, I mean, the guy never leaves the house.
That's right.
To get hit by vans.
Yeah, that's right. I was... I don't want to get too far afield into the weeds of this, but I rearranged my home library recently so that all the books by sex pests are on like the forbidden shelf behind the couch, right? And so while I was...
we have a new one.
Right, and now that there's a new one, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to move these to that shelf. That's the limbo shelf.
Too big.
Right? I may need 2 shelves for the sex pests. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, I think the lesson that Stephen King... the lesson is that we should all be like Stephen King and not like those other writers in the following way.
Don't be a sex pest.
Don't be a sex pest, but don't ever try to be cool.
Is that's the downfall?
I think that's what happens. Like they all seem that I know a number of people who know a number of those people are relegated to my shame shelf. And they all sort of started out pretty good. And then once they became cool
Or famous.
Yeah. Then they did not have any self-governance. Like, I am not saying that they are not to blame. What I'm saying is that once they became cool, there was just too much candy around them that they didn't have the capacity. And Stephen King, who I think has been very open about his ability to face addiction, overcome addiction, he knows that if he's placed in maybe I could situation, he needs to not be in those situations ever. He's
not that sort of person. And I think we should all just take a moment and pour one out.
Yeah.
That, at least the grandfather of Martin Orr isn't.
He'd rather stay home and write.
About the phrase sex pest. It sounds so cute and fun, and that really isn't what it is. It's a horrible... And, every woman has been at one of those conventions and gotten cornered. And it really is just so fucking awful that, let's call them what they are. They're, what are
Predators.
They? Predators. Thank you. Yeah, they're predators.
Yeah.
And not the fun ones.
Yeah, not the fun ones.
Not the kind with the laser sight.
Exactly.
Yeah, not the, yeah.
But sex pest is a seriously fun word. Like, I think I'm a sex pest.
Oh, I see. So you're taking issue with with how you want to be perceived, not how I perceive. I see. Yes. Okay. So yes, let's call them monsters. But we like monsters here.
Yes, we do. That's
right?
why Predator's better.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So when we
are in the weeds now, aren't we?
Well, no, because this is
we
good.
swore we weren't going to do this.
Because you went around, and I'm going to get there because you talked about your new book. Right?
Yes.
Being based largely on a lived experience, on what's around, what's happening, what's
very universal.
What's real, what's universal about how women are being and have been for thousands of years.
Time immemorial.
Right? The object of desire, the object of ownership, the object
of oppression.
Right. And
for those reasons, right?
Since these things are true and they create a world that we live in, what purpose what valve, I'm editorializing now, does the monster provide to you? By adding that in, that makes it maybe fun to explore and stay out of the weeds because you get to put a monster instead of too many facts or too many lived experiences. Like, what is the role of genre for you in allowing you to tackle real things?
I mean, the monster story is always discovery, chase, and vanquish.
Right.
That's the essential 3 beats of the monster story. And so I think in this case for me, the vanquish becomes all important. I'm not going to give away any sort of ending because I would like $1 per hardcover, please. Like, I'll get a hardcover deal. Does anybody get a hardcover deal anymore? Just the Kardashians?
No, if I want to be real, like, we're going to go there. Now we're business hats.
Okay.
Keep your hardcover rights.
Right?
Keep them. Because then if your paperback rights do well, then you have a reason to sell another thing. Don't give away. Dear listeners.
Mine always come out first.
Well, you're a big deal, Susie. Those of us who are less of a
My
big
way
deal.
of thinking with the hardback is that, they're $40. You can get, and as a reader, I'm talking as a reader now, I can get 2 paperbacks for that.
That's right.
I buy paperbacks.
Yeah.
It's the premium format, though. It is what it is. It's the same reason people go see movies in the theater instead of waiting for it to come out at home. If you want, if you're eager, like I bought, speaking of Stephen King, his new collection of short stories. I bought it for my daughter. It was $40 in hardcover because she wanted it for Christmas.
She wants the hardcover,
right? Well, she wants the book, and
Look
it's
at
not
these
available.
hands.
It's not available on paperback yet. It's like
I know, yeah,
Right?
and it's another 6 months. But see these hands? These hands cannot hold up a hardback for very long.
Right.
I have tiny hands. I want to read a paperback. I want to read.
so you'll wait. You're okay waiting till it comes out. And
I generally do.
Yeah.
I'm also a library person, and shout out to libraries, and please continue to fund them.
We love libraries.
Yes, absolutely. And so if I'm desperate, I will go get a hardback out of the library.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I am. I'm also anxious to read the new King.
Mm-hmm.
But for King, I'll kind of satisfy my urge by reading old King.
Sure.
He's one of those very rereadable guys.
Yeah.
You just have to start over at the beginning again because you forgot Carrie.
Yeah, we have a tradition at the studio. Really, every year before the Calgary Comic-Con, we drive out and listen to a Stephen King book on the way out. So we just pick and everyone picks a different one, and we just listen to one. So there's always at least one every year that I listen to, but I usually listen to one and read one.
Okay, you bring up something interesting that this has come up in TikTok and a few other places I've seen recently, and that is listening to a book still reading a book?
I think it is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't listen to books,
I don't either.
but I have, especially long car trips with Michael, my youngest son. That's where he got almost all of his stories that were semi-adult. We listened to Animal Farm, for instance.
Oh.
Love that book.
Me too. Actually, I just bought a new copy of it. I'm going to read it again because it's very
Seems timely.
applicable.
Yeah, it's very applicable. The day after the election, the publisher put the audiobook of Animal Farm and 1984 for 99 cents.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
How did I miss that?
Right? I don't know, but I didn't miss it, right?
I just paid
There
full
was
price for it.
for sure, right? That was not a mistake. That was not
No,
a
of
sudden
course
sale.
not.
That was
That's literally why I bought it. He thought, I'm just going to read this and see if there's any solutions.
right. There are some solutions in there. Yeah,
I need some horses to hoof some pigs to death.
that's right.
Bright Hill Road has been a way station for all kinds of people. And some of these people are doing penance for their sins.
I have this, unfair advantage is that half of my creative output is visual art that I'm creating.
Yeah.
And so while I'm working on that, once I have finished the thumbnails, which I usually have to do in seclusion and just listening to soundtracks or something, no words. Once I have the thumbnails of the beats of the story that I'm doing visually, and I'm doing the ditch digging, which is the hard part. The part that makes it look good actually takes the longest and requires the least of my total active presence. I can just put on a book and listen while I'm working. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks as a result of that.
Yeah. It's funny when I'm assuming by ditch digging, you're talking plotting.
No, like if I'm working on a graphic novel, the ditch digging would be like, okay, I have to flat all the colors on. 50
of
pages,
course.
right? Oh, I have to check all, do all the margin work. I have to tighten up all the lines. I have to do all this stuff where it's like repetitive elements in a large amount for a long period of time that are individually kind of fun. And when they're done, oh, it does look better. And oh, I'm proud of myself. And these things are all great. But it's just labor, and I just have to do it. And so one way I trick myself into doing it is like, okay, well, I've got 60 hours this month to do on this kind of work. What books am I going to?
That's awesome. I do think it's reading. I don't
Right.
think there's a real difference. A Dry Spell and Bastion Falls, by the way, are available, as is 13. I'm not sure about Dwelling. I'm assuming Dwelling they're all on Audible anyway.
So when that, do you just get someone to read it for you, or do you read it?
They do it.
They do it?
Audible buys it, and then they...
Okay.
Sometimes I get asked about the reader, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah, we've looked into how that works. And friend of the podcast, Dr. Jonathan Ball, has done a bunch of that work for us. And yeah, they will send you a bunch of voice comps. So you listen to the people reading a passage, and then you pick from it. And yeah.
It's not very lucrative.
Yeah.
Like it's the best thing you can do for yourself is to keep it active so that they have to renew.
Mm.
So little business tip for you new kids out there. And so, once in a while I'll throw it on my socials. Oh, you can listen to this audio. Look at that. You should buy it. And then there'll be this rush and so they renew.
Right.
There was a bit of a rush there.
Well, what would you say to this notion, this poisonous notion that I've heard lately that books should come out first as audiobooks now instead of in print? I've been seeing that.
I just, whenever I hear something like that, I look for the way they're looking to screw us. That is what I look for. I go, okay, how will this no longer benefit me at all?
100%.
Because that is what they're trying to do. Trust no one. The truth is out there.
Trust but verify is what I like to say.
Oh, see, you're just nicer than I am.
That's right.
Wait till you're in your 40s.
See, my revenge list, I always think that the best revenge is living well. So what I try to do if I'm really feeling petty, I try to make sure that I am invited somewhere where one of my enemies is also going to be. And I simply thrive in front of them. And that is how I have chosen.
That is brilliant.
Right.
I've also, I have to admit, done that. Put on a bit of the dog, looked better, looked younger,
That's right.
looked smarter, or just generally was smarter.
Yeah, just was smarter.
I know that.
You're going to help Dan and I right now, Susie.
Oh, and I just want to.
Yeah, you're going to help Dan and I.
I'm a helper.
How do we approach screenwriting in the most productive way that we can?
Oh.
Imagine, if you will, that we are both heartfelt, wonderful, creative people. We don't need any help in the ideas or the motivation for the hows and whys. But how do we be most productive with carrying out screenplay writing? You have alluded to the fact that you have a very strict schedule and that you organize what kind of writing you're doing when, and you have set aside a time that's just for you. So when you set aside time that is just for screenwriting, what does that time look like and how do you do it?
Okay, first of all, I go into it. You already have the ideas. So I go into it knowing what I'm writing. And I know the ending. So however long that took me, that is that invisible work, which is all mental, I sit down and I know it. Then I tent pole. There's lots of things people call it, but I go, what are the 10 things I got to have in here? And I jot them down. I generally know.
What kind of gotta haves? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so let's see. Bright Hill Road, fantastic film. I love that script. Here's why. It was my first sold script, and I had a month to write it. I had a month to come up with the idea. Somebody said to me, hey, do you got it? And I went, yeah. And so then I had to have and so...
That board over there you're commenting on, that is the result of doing too much of that.
I feel you. I feel you. But so what I did was I had this character I always start with character. I had this character I'd always wanted to write and a semi-scenario. And so I went with that. And, because I had an extremely tight deadline, I had a month to present to them a beat sheet, and then a month to write the script. And so all the work was done in the beat sheet, obviously. And
And the beat sheet they had to approve? Or
Yeah.
you were just...
No. Well, I mean, I was hired because they believed in me, which was fantastic.
And for anyone who doesn't know, dear listener, Susie, tell us what goes on a beat sheet.
Oh, all right. Well, that is a beat sheet can be a couple of things, but a beat sheet is every major movement in the story. Three Little Pigs. The first beat is the building of the houses, right? Each of them gets their own beat. It's probably two of them get one beat because we're really the star of this show is the brick guy.
Would the jealous glance of the pig that must build with straw at his two brothers, would that be a beat on your beat sheet?
That would be actually a turning point, wouldn't it? Which is also a beat. And so when you're writing a beat sheet, I, again, would do tent poles. What do I need to... So back to Bright Hill Road, there was a workplace shooting. She flees. She didn't do the shooting, but she was somewhat responsible. She flees. She's a drunk. She falls apart, falls asleep in her car, stops. She is outside a hotel. She goes in. Those are the first three beats. Shooting, breakdown of the car, going into the hotel. Those are the first three beats. And so, yeah, as you can see, story's already forming. And then the midpoint is she realizes that no matter what she does, she can't get out of this hotel. And then the ending becomes, again, horror movies tend to be discovery, chase, and vanquish, right? And so her midpoint is, I know this is happening. Now I have to see why it's happening. And then, of course, at the end, it's the vanquish. And the vanquish can be either the vanquishing of the protagonist or the antagonist. In this case, I'm not going to tell, but it's got a great ending.
Yeah, in horror movies, we don't need the distinction. It can go one way or another. In fact, I think horror movie audience sometimes celebrate that quote-unquote sad ending, as Hollywood calls it.
Very, very satisfying, right? Like Hereditary. Great, satisfying ending, right? And so...
Neil Marshall's
The Wolfman,
Descent.
not so much.
The original Descent, Neil Marshall. Right? Not the American...
Yes.
The American release gives it a happy ending, and the original does not.
That's a remake?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's not a remake. No, he did. It was, sadly, because he didn't have total control of the project once it was sold through producers. They released it in the UK and in Europe, and then when it was released in America, they test screened it.
Okay, that's
and the American audience was like, wait,
Well, and there's three endings.
technically.
And you can see them all on YouTube, I think, or you can see one of them on YouTube.
Yeah. I'll lend you I have the DVD.
I have a DVD too. I've never looked at the back of it. So
Yeah.
let's look at the back of my DVD, and it's probably got them all on there.
You know what else has a way better ending is Speak No Evil, which was recently remade in an American version.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
The original Speak No Evil has a fantastic ending.
Yeah, Justin spoke very highly of the original.
Yeah, I loved it. I saw it when it came out, when it was released in North America, and I thought, oh, I love this. So when I heard the remake, I knew immediately this is not going to go well.
Now, you were in the middle of helping us, so you have to know your tent poles.
Where was I? Yeah, so I know what my tent poles are, and then I honestly start with an image, just like every other. What is this? What is this? How is this prologuing for me? I don't always have a prologue in a film, obviously, but because I think I come from books, what is this world, and how is it disrupted?
I find that interesting because your novels or your style of writing is very from the inside out. Like we go into the character's mind and then come out. So it's not always visual first in that real sense. And so on a screenplay, you have to write what you see first, and then what you can only express what they think by what they say in a sense. So
that's interesting. Well, by what they look, what it looks
what
like.
they do, yeah.
I mean, if you can tell your story in a beat sheet without using any dialogue, you're golden, right? But I disagree with the book. I think I always lay some visual.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah, like immediately you go, oh, they're on a dark road and there's a jaunty tune playing. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But
your new book is called Dark Road, Jaunty Tune.
Jaunty tune, because that's scary. If you hear something really lighthearted, someone about to die.
Yeah. It's whole movie rules, right?
But visually, what I love about writing a screenplay is that, you start off with this thing that you can't do and you keep distilling it until it's exactly what it needs to look like, right? And it's the challenge of that especially at the time when I started writing screen, I had by then almost started to caricature my own writing. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I kind of had go-tos and set pieces that I started to use. And a lot of it was because my heart had fallen out of the platform, and for lots of reasons. And they're on my list. And so what I loved about writing screen was it was brand new to me. And so, you're just a baby kind of. Oh. And so then you can, you're discovering things for the first time. And that distillation process, like, seriously, just got me so going. And
Do you like, you writing final draft, I assume?
actually, I prefer movie magic screenwriter,
Okay,
but
but
I do write
Same
final
difference in that
ish.
you have some hotkey commands that immediately change the formatting for you quickly and easily.
Yeah, so you don't have to think about
That
it.
structure, how does that compare to the free form of prose?
At first, it was so hard because now you're beholden to,
Interior. Night. Yeah.
Yeah. But as you write them, they become part of the story that you're telling. And it's just you are still writing for a reader. You're just writing for like 27 readers, right? Who are going to come in there and change everything you wrote except the dialogue and the names of the characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes even that.
Literally everything.
Yeah. And so you're writing for those people to read it so that they will keep as much of your script as possible, as much of your story as possible. And there's something wonderfully fun about going, oh, there's no way they can write this without shooting this scene, or they can make this without shooting the scene. And
Don't you find that's usually the first one they want to cut?
I have not found that. No. When you're telling your story and you're doing it justice, it stays reasonably intact. The one thing that I have really learned is don't put information into actors' mouths. Find another way, because they will, and they should. They should make it their own. They should make the character their own. And so but don't give them important information in throw-off lines, because it will.
Because in the
not
edit,
make
that
it to the
delivery,
screen.
yeah.
Well, and they won't remember to say it in just that way. I mean, some of the bigger points was, and then he killed him.
Right.
They'll say that part.
Right.
But, don't give, I grew up in that house to them. Because they'll go, I grew up in this neighborhood.
Right.
I grew up in that town. I grew up with Bubblicious. They'll do whatever they're doing.
This place, this whole place is something's not right.
Well, and you see that increasingly in film where if a character, I'm trying to think of this show, I literally just saw the example where they walked in, and in order to tell me that they grew up here, there was a picture of them slightly younger on the wall as they walked past it, right? So that they could get on to other business in the dialogue and the performance.
See, and that's a lame attempt.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's better than going, I grew up here.
That's right.
Because who walks into their childhood home and says, I grew up here?
That's right.
There's an assumption that you already know that you did.
Yeah. When Tara and I moved into our house, we've moved since, but you'll know the place because I think you were big. Yes. You've been in there. We were only in there a week, and an older lady came up to the fence line, leaned on it, said, "Oh, you guys just moved in here?" And we're like, "Yeah." She says, she points to the upper window. "I lost my virginity in that room at a party in 1970, whatever." This was her welcome to the neighborhood story.
I can't think of a better one.
Right. There was no photo of her in the house that let us know, so she had to emote the important information.
She had to just give you the info dump.
That's right.
Absolutely unforgivable unless someone has lost their virginity.
That's right. Yes.
And that works fine.
So you couldn't buy the house herself, so she moved in next door?
No, she was still in the neighborhood. We didn't become pals. Let's put it that way.
I want to know who.
So your rules so far are keep a schedule.
Yes. You know what?
Know how it ends.
Number one, man.
Do the thinking work ahead. Have your tent poles figured out. Write a beat sheet, and leave none of your exposition in the dialogue,
Because it's just not useful.
because it'll likely get
Yeah.
cut or changed by performance.
Yeah.
And you skirted around an idea that I'm not going to let you off the hook of, which is how you keep what's yours in the story undistillable. You know, like
Well, okay, so that's actually at the essence of all of us here. We're storytellers. And so what is that story that you're telling? You know, it's not words. It's not performances. It's not dialogue.
yeah,
It's
like
it's
all
what happens, right? You know, it's the arc of what's happening. And so if your arc is sharp, then you won't lose the essence of your story. And all of that, I'm sure, sounds like gobbledygook, but I think writers of a certain maturity, like as soon as you have written, you know, your way into now I'm a writer, you know what I mean. You know that, you know, and it takes practice to understand how you do that. Let's say, again, let's go back to Bright Hill Road. The essence, the thematic of Bright Hill Road is a woman that had lost control of a life she hadn't wanted to live in the first place. So she crashed and burned no matter how she was kind of trying to change it. And I won't again give out the ending. But that story stayed in the script no matter what the director and editor did to it. And I have
all
to
the
say
stakeholders agreed on the theme, so it was okay to change the details.
yes, because the story remained.
yeah.
And it's still my story. That's
Right.
still my character, right? She still did the things that I needed her to do to satisfy me as a storyteller.
One thing I think about, which connects to what you asked about, our audiobooks, still reading. Books themselves are young. In the grand history of storytelling, the book has not been around a long time.
No,
So
that's for
right,
sure.
yeah. And so the idea that there's one version of a story is a relatively new invention to the human existence on planet Earth. And if you take a story like Beowulf, which has now been codified, translated, there are sort of definitive versions of it. If you went back 700 years, there would be no definitive version. Every person that told the story would tell the story that contained the details that were important to their community,
Yeah.
plus the plot of this thing. The thing they all agreed was the theme of the story that was unchangeable. They'd all make it their own. So really that's what you're talking about, is that as long as everyone at the campfire agrees the kind of story we're telling, it's okay if the guy has a hook for a hand or he doesn't, right? As long as it starts with a couple in a secluded location telling the story of something scary that could be here, right? Like those.
Absolutely. It doesn't change what's in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, what's coming, what can't we see?
Yeah.
What is the dark hold? I feel like, you know, what you're essentially saying is that there are no original stories. And in fact, I don't know, the human experience, I think, is getting darker. I think our general human experience is getting darker, and stories have, in my opinion, started to very much reflect that. But there's always been truth tellers writing throughout history. We joked about Animal Farm, but Orwell was one of those guys, super pessimist, right? And fair enough. Thinking of when he grew up, the looming of the bomb and World War II shadowing him, but I forget who said this. Was it Frost? No, it was not Frost. But 'tis not the tale, 'tis the telling, right? And so it's how are you relating this to the viewer, to the person who's going to pick up your book, right? And I think that if you look at modern horror novels, right, Stephen Grant-Jones, he is telling us modern stories, but it's still about fear. It's still about, often fear of the other or fear of being the other. And I love that. Like, I love that it's so relatable, even though I don't know him. I don't live near him. I don't have his lived experiences, but it's relatable because we're all living it.
I think the small self can be discouraged. That's what I call the person that is like telling me, no, Gregory, you can't or you shouldn't, right? The small self can be easily discouraged by the notion that there are no new stories. Like people say that a lot, like, oh, there's nothing new. I definitely believe that there are original expressions of old ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the artist's role. That is the job of a writer, is to have an original expression. The idea could have existed for a very long time, but bring now to that old thing. And now it's
Well, and it's not even just, bringing it into now. It's what's your perception of that? We might perceive evil differently. I'd mentioned that I have an alter ego on Twitter these days, and I'm being very, very vicious on
That's
there.
right.
And I make a joke that I'm being vicious, but actually what I'm doing is I'm calling people out on their bullshit, and the degrees of evil. What I think of as evil, maybe as a Canadian, maybe as a woman, maybe as a Winnipegger, is not what the average, MAGA, and I'm sorry to go there.
We've been in the weeds before on this.
I'm so sorry to do it. But their lack of compassion is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And so I know that, we don't have the same image of evil. And so if they read or saw some of my work, they might go, oh, well, that's not so bad. I live next door to them. That is me. I'm not evil, am I? Am I evil? Like, what about those stories, which are going to be around us in spades coming up? Good example of that was Joker.
Yeah.
What did you think of Joker? Because it's very controversial. You didn't like it. Dan didn't like it.
Hate it.
Not the second one. Why did you hate the first one?
Many reasons.
Yeah, I have a lot of reasons. I did not. I found it to be a brilliantly crafted film with a message I found poisonous.
It's Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
But don't you think that
No,
we don't relate? We don't relate to him necessarily,
No.
but we do relate to the world that is creating him.
I guess so.
Like that end scene when he becomes Trump. I mean,
I don't relate to a world in which Batman really exists.
This is right. I wish.
What? I told you I am the.
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
Yeah.
No, there was a lot of reasons I didn't like it, but I get what you're saying, right? And by the way, lots of people like that movie, the first one, not the second one.
I didn't see the second one.
The second one is apparently a musical, and they didn't tell anybody it was going to be.
I know they should have brought that up.
So anyway, but yeah, a lot of people do like that. I think for that reason, and they like the take on it. I'm done with there's a lot of Batman stuff out there. There's a lot of Joker stuff out
Yeah,
there. I've
but-
seen this role played many
See,
times.
different
so
for
it's
us, Susie, is that we're enormous nerds,
Yes.
right? And so we have been inculcated with
Well,
every
I'm
version.
cool.
Yeah, you're still, not
Yeah.
too cool, not so cool that you'll be on the wrong shelf of my library.
Cool. Yes, exactly.
But
I haven't reached that level yet.
that's right,
No.
yeah. But just cool enough. And so for us, I think some of the predilection that comes from some of that content is we've seen so many versions that we have the luxury of picking the one we like best.
And the Jim Carrey one, I'm assuming. I have to assume. Oh, was he? I mean, who cares? That was terrible.
And this actually qualifies exactly what I'm saying. We've consumed so much of that content that I feel justified in correcting you that that's the Riddler and not the Joker, as if that matters at all. In the light of the much larger, more important issues you've already brought up on this,
See, and I have not.
right?
I have seen maybe one Batman,
Right.
and I'm not a fan of the franchise. But I did see Joker because I knew I would like it. I knew that it was themes that I spent a lot of time thinking about. This. I feel like we're going in two different directions. The world is getting. I think the kindnesses are happening in communities, and the larger world is getting scarier. I saw, or read, sorry, I think it was an Atlantic article about how people are combating, all the bad feelings that we're all having, and it's doubling down on community, getting closer to people in our circles who can, show us the best parts of ourselves, that there is still compassion, that there is still community, that people mean well.
We have definitely been feeling that the last few years here around the studio. There's been a lot of work being done by people who want nothing from the work
Yeah.
except to bring people together and then, hey, whatever you want to do with this third space, right? That's what it's here for. And I've been seeing more and more of that. And, and in convention
It's
land,
great
which
till you
is,
need to buy a house.
yeah, it's very commodified. And so the fatigue of how everything has to be for a buck related to your creative life has also created these sort of offshot communities that are always happening around these big events, because that's when everyone has come in. But then they come in, they make their money, or they do their announcement, or they have their, photo op, and then afterwards they're lingering in the cities for a few extra days to actually connect with the creative people in those communities. And that I'm seeing happening more and more. And it's the part of me that is like, okay, we're going to be all right.
Yeah, that's the part that matters.
Yeah.
And I think that because of the encouragement to side hustle, to have a B game, it's exhausting. And in all honesty, I've done it all my adult life, and I am burned out by it. I was mentioning that I write short stories that no one will ever see, and you have to do it to keep joy in the platform, I like writing.
Yeah.
We made jokes about hating it, but I love it. There's no, I've had 2 kids who I love deeply. I'm deeply in love with my husband. I like, a hot dog once in a while, and pasta's my favorite thing ever, but nothing makes me as happy as writing. Ever.
Or having written.
Or having written,
yeah.
particularly.
Yeah, particularly having written. The writing part, starting is the worst. I have a literal, I was going through some hard drives and some storage, and, when you move, you have to do I need any of
Yes,
this?
you do.
Is these really, are these an archive but I have thousands of comics pages that I've made over the career of making thousands of comics pages that aren't for anyone else, except that I had to make them in order to make the ones that were worthwhile to show to other people. But if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have anything.
You were walking so you could run.
Right.
And I have those early stories. I have stories from, grade school. And I think it's going to be important when we have our libraries, Greg.
Oh, that's
yes,
right.
The
When the endowment fund is
right.
that the government
people are going to want to see our journey.
That's right.
And it's going to be important that we kept those things.
The joke we make here is that the real reason why you need to register your book with an ISBN number is so that you have to send it to the Archive of Canada so that 1,000 years from now, somebody can use it to light their campfire.
Absolutely.
Right? They'll
finally useful.
Yeah, some paper. I've been looking for paper.
Or right in the margin.
That's right.
Ooh, full circle.
Yeah, all this
chills.
That's what I do. That's my job. So, Susie, I hope this won't be the last time you agree to come on the show.
Never.
Bring
me back every week.
That's right.
I'm just going to hover now.
I have greatly enjoyed your energy, your candor, but most particularly the way in which it's so clear how much writing means to you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our dear listeners also feel that we wouldn't quit even if someone told us to.
No, a stick in the sand, I used to say.
That's right.
So if I had to.
This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. This is Gregory Komichuk encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.